Hey, what's going on, guys? Distortion here, and today what I have for you guys is yet another Advanced Warfare video. This time what you guys are watching is a solo double DNA bomb on the map Recovery, 101 kills using the BAL. Nothing too special, but nothing too bad either. Hopefully you guys enjoy the gameplay in the background, but that's not what I'm going to talk about today. Today I wanted to discuss a book that I finished reading about Steve Jobs. And basically, if you guys have probably heard of it, it's called Jobs by Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. It's a biography of him, basically. It's not the one that they made the movie out of, although they are going to end up making a movie out of this one separately. But they haven't done it yet, and basically the reason I was reading it, I do enjoy reading books. I haven't really read anything in a long time. I'm kind of that, I enjoy, those fantasy adventure type books that are, nothing non-fiction. I never really read biographies or anything like that. But the reason I was reading this was basically for my writing class. Our final project, instead of an exam, we have to write 3 essays on a biography we read, and we got to choose the biography and everything. And so, you have to write 3 different essays, and one of them is like you have to define the central moment in their life, and there's some other fun creative ones. But basically, I chose Steve Jobs because I thought, I'd seen the movie. I know a lot about not Steve Jobs himself, but I know Apple, I know Steve Jobs, that kind of thing. So I thought it'd be a relatively easy one and also interesting to do. So I picked up this book, and it's a huge biography. It's like 600 something pages. And it was really interesting. It was really fun, enjoyable to read. It didn't read really boring or nonfiction or anything like that. It really did read like a story. But basically, what I didn't realize and what I had not known about Steve Jobs is that he was like a complete asshole. And what I mean by that is, when he'd be working at Apple, especially the first time around before he got kicked out, he'd have 2 modes, and it'd either be, this is amazing, it's the best thing ever, glad I thought of it, even if you thought of it, or this is complete shit, get out of my office type thing. And literally that's what it would be. So if he didn't like an idea, he'd just say this is shit, right off the bat. He didn't care at all what people thought, and then a couple of weeks later he'd come back to the person and be like, I thought of this great idea, you should do it. And then it'll be the same guy's idea that he showed him that he said a couple weeks earlier or was complete shit. And that's just how he operated, and it was kind of people got annoyed at him for it, but people also respected him for it at the same time. And it was involved, a lot of that personality was what let him lead Apple and kind of become an innovator and visionary and whatever. And another thing that was interesting was that he didn't actually know much himself about coding or putting together computers or anything like that. Mostly what most people know is that a lot of it was just his partner that he met, Steve Wozniak. And basically, the reason I bring it up is because I was thinking about it, and it just boggled my mind how this guy who's became, extremely rich, and he essentially changed the world. I'll go as far to say, Apple products, are extremely prevalent, iPhones and Macs and all that kind of thing. People use them all the time, and, they're huge. So I'll go as far as to say that he changed the world, but he didn't really know anything in terms of the technical side, and he wasn't really a nice guy either. And a lot of times when you hear about these kind of big, not celebrities, but big CEOs or big leaders of companies, executives, that kind of thing, a lot of them end up being kind of complete jerks or assholes. So Mark Zuckerberg, for example, the guy who invented Facebook, one of my cousins was actually in his class at Harvard, in the same class, and he said he was a complete dick. And he's known to be a complete dick. And even Bill Gates, who's now he donates money to everyone, he's a humanitarian and philanthropist, even he was kind of a dick back in the early Microsoft days, where basically him and Steve Jobs both stole intellectual property and the ideas from Xerox, which was making computers at the time. And so it begs the question, do you have to be kind of this cutthroat, really, nasty, really nasty, person, willing to kind of sacrifice the emotions and happiness and whatever of others and steal things and that kind of thing to become great and powerful and inventive and whatever? And if so, I'm screwed, because I do not consider myself that kind of guy. But, I thought it was just an interesting thing to think about it. So let me know what you guys think, if it kind of requires that sort of personality to become great. The kind where you even though it might hurt other people's feelings, or you just don't care and you kind of do what's going to be best regardless of how it affects other people, that kind of attitude. Is that what you need to be ultimately successful for yourself and, inventive and whatever? after reading this, it very much seems so, because that it was his whole personality. And like, you know, he'd tell someone to do something that was literally, you know, physically impossible in terms of like a time constraint. He'd be like, all right, we're gonna ship this, you know, the iMac 6 months from now, and they're like, well, we haven't even started doing the thing. He's like, oh no, we can do it. And you know, he would just say that, and then people would kind of just go along with it, and people would actually end up being able to do it. And people would be like, wow, you know, this is amazing, you know. And they called it in the book a like reality distortion field, where like he believes that he can just change reality with the kind of power of his mind, not by like being, you know, visionary and empathetic or whatever, but just by ignoring things that he didn't like, and like being brutally honest by literally telling people you're shitheads and you're stupid. So I don't know, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. My name is Destructinator, and I'm out. Peace.